My family abandoned me at a bus stop after graduation with just $60 and a backpack. Good luck out there, my mom said. 13 years later, I arrived at the family reunion in a limo, and they had no idea who I was. My name is Autumn Hayes. I'm 18. And the day I graduated high school, I learned that freedom can look exactly like a Greyhound bus station in Memphis heat and a polyester gown that won't stop sticking to my legs. You'd think the most humbling part would be tripping over my own feet crossing the stage to grab my diploma. You'd be wrong. The most humbling part is watching your parents slow down at the curb 20 minutes later, not even bothering to put the car in park. My mom leans across the passenger seat, designer sunglasses perched on her nose like armor, chewing mint gum like it personally offended her. Good luck out there, sweetheart, she says, her smile tight as a rubber band about to snap. She waves at me like I'm heading off to summer camp, not being cut loose into the world with nothing. My dad just drives. Doesn't look back. No hug, no photo for the scrapbook that'll never exist. Just a greeting card, one of those generic congratulations graduate ones from CVS, with 320s tucked inside and a half-empty bottle of Gatorade rolling around the backseat that he couldn't even be bothered to hand me properly. The silver Toyota turns the corner and shrinks into nothing. I stand there on the cracked sidewalk, holding a balloon with "You Did It" printed on it that keeps bonking me in the head like it's in on some cosmic joke I don't understand yet. 18 years old. No job lined up, no acceptance letter from any college, no plan beyond surviving the next 24 hours. Just a JanSport backpack with a broken zipper, the same one I've had since sophomore year, and a Greyhound schedule some guidance counselor printed out because nobody wanted to say the words "please don't come home" out loud. I sit on a metal bench that feels like ice despite the sun trying to melt the asphalt. A pigeon waddles over, completely convinced my shoelaces are edible. I'm splitting a bag of peanut M&Ms with a guy named Curtis, who swears he's headed to Nashville to either make it as a country singer or start a cult, whichever one pays the rent first. Somewhere between his sixth prophecy about the music industry and the sound of a bus wheezing into the station, something loosens in my chest. A knot I didn't know I'd been carrying finally gives up. I'm terrifyingly free. I don't pick a destination so much as I pick the bus route with the cleanest bathroom. The Greyhound drops me in a town called Riverside. Population, barely visible on any map. The gas stations double as diners. The help wanted signs look older than the woman working the register. I have $38 left after the bus fare and a pack of Twizzlers from a vending machine. My phone battery is at 12%. My feet are screaming. But time, for the first time in my life, is mine. The motel is called Sunset Lodge. There is no sunset, and it barely qualifies as a lodge. The neon sign flickers like it's having a seizure. The clerk behind the desk looks like she hasn't slept since the Clinton administration. "How long you staying?" she asks, not looking up from her crossword puzzle. I slide a $20 bill across the counter. However long this gets me. The room smells like decades of cigarette smoke and disappointment. But the lock works. The water runs. The microwave doesn't explode when I nuke a gas station burrito. By my new standards, this is paradise. I lie on a mattress that's seen better centuries and stare at a ceiling with water stains that look like maps to nowhere. I pull out a spiral notebook, because I'm the kind of girl who writes things down when she's too scared to say them out loud, and I title the first page, Autumn Survival Guide, Chapter 1. I write down what I know how to do. Make scrambled eggs, only scrambled, nothing fancy. Change a tire, thanks to YouTube, not Dad. Fix a leaky faucet, also YouTube. Play piano reasonably well, if everyone's had 2 drinks. Not die, hopefully. It's not much, but it's more than I had this morning. The gas station manager hires me after a handshake that feels like it might give me tetanus. $8.50 an hour, cash under the table, morning shifts. I mop floors at the Golden Dragon Buffet in the evenings. On Sundays, I become a human dishwasher at a diner called Minnie's, where the wallpaper looks like a time capsule from 1985. The nights are the hardest. They're loud with silence, the kind that used to mean I was in trouble back home, in a house where someone was always yelling. I scroll through old text messages just to remind myself there was a time when I existed to other people. The graduation texts read like fortune cookies. Congrats. Good luck. Let's stay in touch. Nobody stays in touch. I don't reach out. They don't either. But I keep going. Not with the dramatic, flippé table rage I fantasize about sometimes, but with the slow, steady burn of a pilot light I refuse to let go out. Every time I hear my mother's voice in my head, "Good luck out there," I picture that Toyota turning the corner. I let that picture teach me how to file down the parts of me that still want their approval. Minnie's Diner is where I meet Jade. JJ, if she likes you. Bright red hair that's fading to pink. Eyes that have witnessed too many closing shifts and terrible tippers. Sarcasm sharp enough to cut glass. New girl? She asks one night, flicking ash off her cigarette in the alley behind the dumpsters. You look like you fell out of a college brochure for what not to do after graduation. I raise a soapy, dishwater-pruned hand. Autumn. She smirks. Jade. I used to have dreams too. Jade introduces me to Biscuit, her three-legged terrier mix with more personality than every adult who's ever told me to be realistic. Jade also introduces me to Wesley, who runs a second-hand furniture shop that smells like lemon oil and stories nobody bothered to write down. He needs help refinishing pieces in the back room. Jade says it pays like garbage, but Wesley's harmless and he'll feed you sandwiches. That's 3 green flags in this economy, she adds. I add a third job to a resume that's starting to look like a cry for help. Gas station clerk, buffet janitor, dishwasher, furniture shop assistant. Wesley has hands like road maps, all scars and calluses that tell 1,000 stories. He shows me how to sand properly, how to read wood grain, how to see potential in something everyone else threw away. You've got patience, he says one afternoon, watching me work on an old coffee table. He says it like it's rare, like it's holy. No adult has ever given me a compliment without a but stapled to the end. You're smart. But. You're talented. But. This time it's just, you've got patience. I excuse myself, go to the bathroom, wash my face, and cry so quietly the faucet doesn't even notice. At night, I sketch on order pads, napkins, the backs of receipts, small tables, shelves, a ridiculous wine rack nobody actually needs. I don't have tools beyond Wesley's generosity and a YouTube playlist called Woodworking for Beginners that autoplays at 2 a.m. when I can't sleep. Jade catches me drawing one night during our break. You good? She asks. Just messing around. She squints at my sketch. That's a bookshelf, right? That was the intention. Could have fooled me. Looks like modern art had a baby with sadness. But she takes a photo anyway and texts it to her cousin Miranda, who manages a home decor boutique 2 towns over. 2 weeks later, Miranda emails me. Can I build the shelf I sketched? Do I have more designs? I almost say no. I share a microwave with cockroaches. I live above a tire shop where the walls literally weep when it rains. I'm all hustle, no infrastructure. Jade shakes her head when I hesitate. Don't be stupid. Say yes and figure it out later. So I say yes. I spend 4 nights in Wesley's back room, coaxing a bookshelf out of reclaimed pine, collecting splinters like they're some kind of badge of honor. When I deliver it to Miranda's boutique, she pays me $150 cash and asks for 4 more by the end of the month. I walk out into sunlight that feels like a promotion. My phone finally dies completely. The screen cracks, the battery gives up, it's done. So I call Jade from a payphone outside the 7-Eleven and announce it like breaking news. They liked it. She wants more. Jade snorts. No kidding. Genius. You made something people actually want. Welcome to the beginning. It isn't success yet. It's a spark. But I've lived enough nights in the quiet to know that a spark can be a lighthouse if you guard it from the wind. Work multiplies. Wesley lets me trade shop time for sanding his antique pieces on weekends. I set my alarm for 5:15 a.m. and learn the choreography of clamps and wood glue. The patience of waiting for finish to dry under a rattling box fan. I tape a note to my motel room wall, right next to the peeling wallpaper. Break the cycle. Every dollar I don't absolutely need for rent, and ramen goes into an envelope with those words written on the front. Not to buy revenge. To buy space. Room enough that nobody else's voice can drown out mine. One evening, Wesley watches me wipe down a tabletop until it gleams like it remembers being a tree. Name your thing, he says, not looking up from his sanding block. My thing. Every shop worth anything has a name. A thing. I don't know yet. It's too small to be a real shop. It's barely a corner with a milk crate for a stool. But I write down words anyway in my notebook. Grain, grace, better than before. I don't realize I'm naming a whole life. Weeks blur together. I'm one person doing the work of 5 and eating like a raccoon with a checking account. But I keep sketching. I keep saying yes. I keep that envelope tucked in a drawer beneath the motel Bible, because both feel like maps in their own way. On a Tuesday that smells like lemon cleaner and rain, Miranda's friend orders a custom bench. Nothing fancy, she writes. Just something honest that won't wobble. I build it over 3 nights, all elbows and doubt, and deliver it in a borrowed pickup truck whose dashboard still has Christmas decorations in July. She pays me in cash and gratitude, then asks a question I don't know how to hold without shaking. Do you ship? I don't sleep that night. Not from fear this time. From velocity. From the feeling that maybe my life is a wheel that finally found traction. Back at the motel, the balloon from graduation has shriveled into a wrinkled rubber comma. I think about popping it, then decide against it. Instead, I tie it to my notebook like a period I refuse to use yet. I open to a fresh page and write in block letters, Grain and Grace, Autumn Haze. It's not a company yet. It's a dare. And somewhere in the cheap, humming silence of that motel room, I finally understand why the bus stop felt like a guillotine that didn't drop. My family didn't abandon me for being nothing. They abandoned me for refusing to be their something. They won't notice me again until a stranger tells them to. And when they do, I'm going to be impossible to miss, on my own terms. Momentum doesn't arrive with trumpets. It shows up like an extra set of hands you didn't realize were yours. Orders trickle, then stack. The envelope labeled Break the Cycle fattens enough to look like a secret. Wesley starts introducing me to suppliers by saying, "This is Autumn. She sees what Wood wants." It sounds mystical. It's mostly patience and sandpaper. Still, I tuck the compliment in my pocket like a lucky coin. Miranda's boutique becomes my first repeat client, then my best advertisement. She stages my shelves with expensive-looking plants and books nobody actually reads. Someone tags a photo on Instagram. Then another. It isn't viral. It's steady, like rain finding the same path down glass until there's a groove. I borrow a thrift store camera and spend nights learning to edit photos on a wheezing laptop. I build a website that barely functions but somehow loads. Grain and Grace, the header reads, because the best things I make come from paying attention and forgiving mistakes. That's when Bennett walks into Wesley's shop. He's there for a dining table, a referral from one of Wesley's clients. He's tall without looming, soft-spoken in a loud world. He runs a small video production company that films local businesses, bakeries, yoga studios, people who turn their hands into their living. He studies my rough sketches with a kind of care I recognize immediately. The attention of someone who understands that ideas spook easily if you treat them like trophies. You design like a storyteller, he says, tapping the margins where my notes spiral into tiny arrows. You leave room for the ending to surprise you. I blink. I'm just trying to make sure it doesn't wobble. That too. He grins and orders a table anyway, pays a deposit that feels like trust. When he comes back to approve the finish, I catch him reading the note still taped to the shop wall. Break the cycle. He doesn't comment. Doesn't have to. It's nice to be seen by someone who doesn't treat your trauma like a diagnosis. On delivery day, he brings coffee I didn't know I needed and a proposal I don't know how to hold. I'm doing a series on independent makers, he says. 1-minute features. We shoot it, edit it, give you the files. I'll trade if that works better. I've been dreaming about a console table and haven't had the guts to commission one yet. I should say no. I hate cameras. Attention still feels like a trap. But the word trade lands like an old language I remember from somewhere deeper than logic. Okay, I say. And it sounds a lot like saying yes to more than just the project. He spends 2 afternoons filming without asking me to perform. No smile bigger or say that again but cuter. Just, do the work the way you do it when nobody's watching. He gets close-ups of the grain, my hands, the way glue finds certainty in the seams. When he edits, he lets the sound of the shop breathe, the orbital sander, the brush strokes, the sigh of a board when it finally fits. He titles it Hands Build Homes and uploads it to his channel with maybe 2,000 followers. It crosses town lines anyway. Screens glowing in rooms I've never stood in. The inbox pings. First with orders. Then questions. Then with a message request from Diane Hayes, my mother. I stare at the notification like it's a snake that slithered into my kitchen. Hey stranger. Just thinking about you today. Hope you're doing well. Would love to catch up sometime. My stomach drops and rises at once, like an elevator that can't decide which floor I belong on. I don't answer. I'm not a ghost. But I don't have to haunt myself on command either. 2 days later, another message. Your cousin Brittany saw your furniture online. It looks so professional. You always had that creative spark. I laugh out loud. The last time Brittany spoke to me, she was accidentally spilling soda into my backpack during a family barbecue. Spark. Indeed. Then an email from Lawrence Hayes, my father, with an attachment. Hayes family reunion, reunited and stronger than ever. The font thinks it's friendly. The Cliphart family is holding hands like nobody ever abandoned anyone on purpose. Location, Riverside Park. Date, 6 weeks out. Would love to see you there. It's been too long. Everyone's been asking about you. I doubt that. I print the flyer and tape it to my new shop fridge, right next to a photo of Jade's dog Biscuit wearing a tiny cowboy hat. It's not sentiment. It's strategy. I want to see how it looks when I reach for something I chose, like iced coffee or leftover Thai food, next to something I didn't. Nostalgia with a glossy finish. You going? Bennett asks when he stops by with 2 burritos and a tired smile. Haven't decided. You don't owe anyone a spectacle, he says, glancing at the flyer. But you do deserve to narrate your own entrance. The word entrance lodges itself somewhere between my collarbones and my courage. We don't talk about it again. He helps me shoot better product photos, shows me how to invoice without apologizing, and never once touches the tools like he's auditioning to be the hero. He just exists beside me, like a person who understands what it takes to keep standing when the world is built to keep you kneeling. That's when Vanessa enters from stage left. Technically, she slides into my DMS. Her profile is a tidy museum of curated light and aesthetic breakfast plates. Love your aesthetic, she writes. Saw Bennett's feature. Gorgeous work. I manage boutique PR campaigns. If you ever want to talk brand storytelling, I'd love to hop on a call. The name flickers recognition in Bennett's eyes when I mention it later. We dated, he admits quietly. Years ago. She's talented. The pause after talented is an entire essay. No worries, I say. I'm not in the market for whatever this is. Good. He smiles the kind of smile that doesn't audition for anything. Work accelerates. I hire 2 part-time helpers, Frankie and River. Both have hands that learn fast and hearts that treat every project like a promise. Wesley refuses to charge me rent for shop time anymore. You're keeping the lights on and the story's moving, he shrugs. Bennett posts Hands Build Homes to a local business spotlight page. It gets shared by a home design account that knows how to make beige look aspirational. A small magazine emails with 3 questions that are basically 1. Why do you do this? I answer honestly. Because wood tells the truth if you let it. Because making is how I pray without asking for anything. Because I'm building a life that never again fits inside a pity card. When the feature runs, I expect to feel exposed. Instead, I feel located, like a GPS that finally figured out where I've been standing this whole time. The next ping is Vanessa again, gratifyingly quick to claim proximity. Saw the feature. Congrats. Your story resonates. I actually know your family. Small world. Linda is such a sweetheart. We cross paths at the charity board. I reread it 3 times. Not because it's complicated, but because it slides a key into a lock I wasn't guarding. Vanessa knows my Aunt Linda. Curator of appearances. Queen of captions written in faux cursive fonts. The channels between my work and my past have been quietly joined, like 2 rivers pretending they were never separate. Coincidence? I ask Bennett later. He exhales slowly. Vanessa doesn't do coincidence. She does opportunity. I picture it. Vanessa at some charity luncheon. My aunt slicing brownies into perfect squares that taste like sugar and absolution. You know Autumn? She's fabulous. And just like that, sparkle emoji, I'm resurrected as content. The family group chat I never asked to join and left on mute years ago lights up with my name like I've come back from the dead. A third message from Diane Hayes. We are all so proud of you. The we lands like a bruise pressed by an old ring. I don't answer. Not yet. Silence is a tool too. Instead, I answer River's question about wood stain. Teach Frankie to trust her eye over her fear. Say yes to a coffee shop counter commission that'll take 3 weeks and every clamp we own. I didn't say yes to the reunion right away. The flyer sat on my shop fridge for 2 weeks, corners curling, that clip-art family still grinning like they'd never left anyone behind at a bus stop. Every time I reached for cold brew or leftover pad thai, it stared back at me, daring me to pretend I didn't care. Jade was the first to call it out. She came by one night with Biscuit trotting in his bandana, looked at the flyer, and whistled low. You going? Haven't decided. She smirked. You thinking about showing up all humble and mysterious? Maybe. You're a liar. She plucked the flyer off the fridge. This is your origin story. You don't show up like a ghost. You show up like the plot twist. Bennett said it differently later that week. Karma. You don't owe them an explanation. But if you go as the person you became, not the girl they left behind. So I made a call to Lincoln, a client who owed me a favor. He ran a boutique car service out of the city. I need something subtle but undeniable, I said. He chuckled. Quiet power. Quiet power, loud horn. Exactly. When the day came, I stood in front of my mirror, hands trembling, not from fear, but from the old habit of anticipating judgment. I wore white linen that breathed confidence, not apology. Hair pulled back in a low bun. A silver watch Bennett gave me when my first major order cleared. My best boots, the ones I bought after my first $1,000 sale and told absolutely no one about. Bennett couldn't come, work trip to Atlanta, but he texted one line before boarding, "You've already won." The limo arrived at noon. Black, understated, glossy enough to reflect the past but not invited in. When it pulled into Riverside Park, heads turned. Conversations paused mid-sentence. A frisbee flew off course. The driver opened the door like I was royalty. I stepped out slow, the way you do when you know they'll remember the silence more than the sound. For a moment, they didn't recognize me. My mother's hand shot to her chest. My father froze mid-sip of whatever cheap beer he was nursing. My sister Haley, golden child turned lifestyle blogger, said my name like it was a password she'd forgotten. Autumn. I smiled. Hey, stranger. Nobody spoke for a heartbeat too long. I walked toward the drink table, poured myself lemonade, scanned the spread like I was inspecting inventory. The hush was delicious, a pause that finally belonged to me. My mother came first, clutching a paper plate like it might absorb the years between us. You look, well. Nice spread, I said, nodding toward the table. Potluck. Oh, yes. Everyone contributed. I brought my own, I said, tilting my chin toward the limo. She blinked, searching for the script. Dad approached next, slower, still holding his drink like a shield. Didn't expect you. I didn't expect the bus stop, I said, matching his calm with mine. We stood there, two people who shared a chin, a last name, and almost nothing else. You've done well for yourself, he offered finally. I know, I said softly. You could have called. You could have turned around. He looked away. We thought you needed space. Space isn't abandonment, I said. But it does teach you who you are. He had no answer for that. Then came the chorus. Relatives swarming like curious bees. Compliments disguised as rewrites. We always knew you'd land on your feet. Guess we raised you tough. Bet you're grateful for those hard lessons now. I smiled without agreeing. They were rewriting history in real time, and I let them, because correcting the story would mean validating it, and I don't owe them clarity. Then the voice I didn't expect. Wow. This is surreal. Vanessa. She stood near the dessert table, hair perfect, dressed in soft beige like she'd color coordinated with redemption itself. Small world, right? She said, like this was a networking event. I blinked. "You're here?" "Your Aunt Linda invited me. We met at a charity gala. I told her about your work. She was so proud." Ah, there it was. The PR ribbon tying it all together. My success had become their talking point, curated by the woman who used to date my boyfriend. "Appreciate the exposure," I said evenly. She smiled. "I just wanted them to see how far you've come." "I'm sure you did." Her eyes flickered, just a hint of something sharp beneath the surface. Then she retreated toward the lemonade stand. Mission accomplished. The afternoon dragged under too much sun and too many half compliments. My cousin Garrett, the same one who once called me background character, handed me a plate of pulled pork like we were best friends. Uncle Phil slapped my shoulder, asked if I still played with wood. I gave polite answers and let their discomfort breathe. Because that was the real shift, the power of letting silence do the heavy lifting. They kept circling, trying to decode me. I could feel the moment Jade had warned me about, when people who once talked over you start watching your reactions like they're worth something. It happened near the dessert table, exactly where Vanessa had left her echo. My younger cousin Paige, the Ivy League one, naturally, tilted her head. "Wait. You're the woman who built that walnut desk for that tech guy on Instagram, right?" "Maybe." "No, that was totally you. I saw the feature in Southern Home magazine." Suddenly everyone stared, but this time not with confusion, with recognition. And a little fear. Because now I made sense. They didn't notice me when I was sanding shelves in a borrowed shop. But now that strangers approved, I was real again. I took a sip of lemonade and set the cup down carefully. "Funny," I said. "How validation travels faster than memory." No one replied. Haley appeared beside me, posture perfect as ever, smile brittle as old paint. "You didn't have to make it a statement." I met her eyes. "I didn't. This is just who I am now." She flinched slightly. "They never meant to hurt you." "I know," I said quietly. "They just didn't care if they did." Her gaze fell to the grass. "You're not staying." "I've got a shop to open in the morning." "You came all this way just to leave again?" I smiled. "No. I came to make sure I wasn't the one who disappeared." When I turned to leave, I saw Vanessa watching from across the lawn, her phone angled like she might be filming a moment she thought belonged to her. I gave her a small nod, the kind that says not your story anymore, and kept walking. The driver opened the limo door. My parents stood where I'd left them, smaller somehow. No one called after me. No one asked me to stay. The door shut with a quiet click that sounded like punctuation. Final, but not bitter. As the limo rolled away, the park shrank in the rearview until it was just color and noise. I didn't cry. Didn't tremble. I felt clean, like sawdust after good sanding. Bennett texted, "How did it go?" I typed back, "They finally looked at me." Then added, "And I didn't need to look back." The limo dropped me off just after sunset. The sky was pink and gold, the kind of light that makes even cracked asphalt look sacred. When the driver closed the door behind me, the sound felt final. Not like an ending. Like a seal on something earned. I stood there for a moment, breathing it in. Sawdust. Coffee. Freedom. My kind of cathedral. The shop waited exactly as I'd left it. Sketches pinned to the wall, clamps resting like tired soldiers, the faint hum of the fridge holding my unspoken decisions. I flicked on the lights. They buzzed, then warmed, pouring honey over every surface I'd ever built with my own two hands. No applause. Just air and grace. It was enough. Jade arrived an hour later, biscuit hopping at her heels. She tossed me a burrito and leaned on the workbench. "So, did they cry or combust? Please say combust." I laughed. Neither. They just stared like they were watching a stranger crash their family reunion. Jade grinned. "Good. You were the headline they never deserved." She bit into her burrito. "You kind of looked like a legend when you left, didn't you? Maybe a quiet one." "Quiet power," she said. Loud horn. Biscuit barked like an amen. We ate on stools, feet swinging, grease-stained wrappers crumpling like old chapters. After a while, I said, they looked at me like I didn't belong. Jade raised an eyebrow. Did you? I shook my head. Not even a little. Good, she said. Means you finally built something bigger than their table. When she left, I stayed. Didn't turn off the lights. Didn't check my phone. I just was. I pulled out a new notebook, fresh, uncreased, hopeful, and wrote on the first line, Grain and Grace, Year 3. Underneath, a list that had nothing to do with revenge and everything to do with living. Teach Frankie to lead a project start to finish. Give River her own corner of the shop. Buy Wesley a new orbital sander, even though he'll refuse it. Fix the skylight leak before winter. Start a coffee table line. Adopt a dog, if Biscuit approves. I set the pen down. My phone buzzed. An email from Vanessa. Amazing press from the reunion photos. Your family is glowing. Let's talk brand collaboration soon. I stared at the message for a long time. Then hit delete. No reply. No explanation. Not my story to sell. The next morning, sunlight crept through the skylight, catching on sawdust that looked like glitter suspended midair. Bennett returned from Atlanta, stepping into the shop with a quiet smile that reached his eyes. Looks like peace suits you, he said. It does, I answered. Turns out it's my size. He walked the perimeter, tracing the grain of a new table I'd started, the kind that takes patience to love. So what's next? I smiled, tying my hair back. Building. Always building. He nodded, understanding without translation. Didn't try to make it romantic or profound. Just handed me a cup of coffee and said, then let's get to work. We did. Later that night, after everyone had gone, I stood by the open bay doors, watching the city blur into twilight. The air smelled like cedar and promise. For the first time since that bus stop in Memphis, I didn't measure success by who saw me, only by what I could still make with my hands. Maybe someday they'll tell the story differently. That I was destined. That they always believed. That it was a family thing all along. Let them. Because I know the truth. I wasn't written off. I was rewritten. And this life of sawdust and sunlight and second chances, is the only version that matters.